What is going on, everybody? So, I am back today to talk about a film that I saw a couple of reviews for online, and I'm really interested in this style of filmmaking because I always think that it's interesting with the approach that different filmmakers take to tell a specific story. And I thought originally that this was in a found footage style format, but it's much more of like a mockumentary esque film. Which is always interesting to me because I feel like if you have a passion for documentary, but you don't necessarily have a very specific topic that you want to cover, I think creating a fictional story and spinning it in a documentary style is really interesting. I think of like one of my favorite silly ones is What We Do in the Shadows, but one that's considered more straightforward and serious would be like the Poughkeepsie tapes, where you're watching a movie that looks like a structured documentary, but it's really not. It's just a work of fiction that is attached to tell a compelling narrative through a different type of storytelling method. And so when I read about this movie, I was really excited to visit it, and I'm really looking forward to talking about it today. And the film I'm going to be discussing is Savageland. Savageland is directed by Phil Guidry, Simon Herbert, and David Whelan. When a small town near the Arizona-Mexican border is wiped out overnight, suspicion falls on the lone survivor, but a roll of photos the survivor took that night tells a different story. So, just like the plot description says, we start the film off, we get told that there was this horrible tragedy that occurred in this very small town outside of the Arizona-Mexico border. There's a very small population of people that live in this town. When we're first introduced to that idea at the beginning of the film, we're shown like a journalist who's investigating this, a border patrol agent that's been working on this case, the chief of police there, conspiracy theorists that live throughout the town, and we're getting all of these different jumping around perspectives. And what has happened is there was a young immigrant man named Francisco Salazar who had come to the United States. He was living in this small town, and he was working for a family who was in the town helping convert this church and sort of try to build this small town up into a community. And they were a white family. He was working for them, painting their house and doing all these things for him. Well, when this tragedy occurs, he is accused of killing, I think, 20 to 25 people in this one evening. And so they convict him of the murder, they put him in jail. Well, while this is going on, they find a roll of film. He was a photographer, and they find this roll of film that show these pictures that display that not everything that happened that night is what people are saying. And that's the entirety of the runtime of the film. So I thought this movie was absolutely fantastic. I was really taken by surprise because it is so unconventional in the way it tells its story, and it really does feel like if you put that in front of someone and said, hey, this is real, I feel like it'd be hard pressed for a person to tell you that it's not. And one of the reasons why is because instead of getting real time footage or like cutting back and seeing things for that night, the only real pieces of evidence that you're getting from that evening are photographs, still images of what this character saw through that evening. And I thought that was such a unique way of telling a story. And what I really liked about it is it made the unease and the discomfort of what you were watching elevated to an extreme, because staring at a photo for a really long time, especially ones that are taken during the nighttime where you can kind of get fragments of what you're seeing and piecing it together in your mind, just really kind of sends a chill up your spine. And I thought the way that the directors structured this thing really made the payoff that much better. And what I was really impressed with this movie is, despite the fact that just watching it on the surface, it's a really great suspense mystery thriller about what happened in this one very specific night. It's also a really fascinating commentary about immigration. And I think, when we live in a society now that immigrant people deal with so much, and they struggle so much, even though they contribute so much, especially to us in the US, immigrants contribute so much to our society, and they contribute to our economy, and they're just people who want to make better lives for their family, but because of previous presidential administrations calling those people out and acting like they're terrible humans just for existing, and that everyone that comes from Mexico is like a horrible person or trying to bring crime and drugs. It's all so stupid. And I think that it's really amazing that the directors in this film made characters that were covering that perspective, that were like really horrible racists, or saying that like, oh, he had to do it because he's an illegal, and like that constant terminology that we hear thrown around, he's an illegal. And it's like, have you as a white person ever had to try to become a United States citizen from living outside of the country? No, and it's not an easy process. And so I think that it's really interesting to see that the directors were able to cover, like, especially there's this one African-American journalist in there, and he's really thoughtful with the way he's presenting them and being like, hey, he's just being a scapegoat for all the other people that are involved. They're just doing it because this is an easy target. You're in a border town, and you get a border patrol officer who really kind of has like a very neutral perspective on it, which I thought was really interesting. And then you have the chief of police who's like a really horrible racist and says some really terrible things, and this really awful racist guy who's running this radio station that's contributing to these insane conspiracy theories. And so it was really cool that just like a regular documentary, they have all of these different perspectives from people about what was going on. And then when you jump into what was happening, there is a paranormal aspect to it, but you don't ever know what it is. You're kind of in your mind having to piece together, okay, is this zombies? Are they possessed? What are these, just people from another planet? Like, what could it possibly be? And you're not 100% sure. There's little clues thrown at you, and it's never 100% cemented to you at the end of the film either, which is something that I really appreciated, is keeping you as the audience member guessing throughout the entire film. Really adds that level of mystery and intrigue to the movie that just keeps you on the edge of your seat. And I think all the performances in this are really great. They come across as very real people. You're so immersed in this world and in this idea of what the directors are trying to convey. And it was really just something super unique that I had no idea what to expect. I think that the use of music in this is really great. I think that it does a lot building up that tension and that suspense. And it's really one of the best mockumentary films I've seen. I just think that it was so well done, and even on what I'm assuming is a relatively minimal budget, they really are able to accomplish a lot in a very short hour and 20-minute time frame. And this is a movie that I would highly, highly recommend you see if you have not watched it. I think not only is it just a really great suspenseful horror mockumentary film, but it's also a really interesting commentary on immigration that I think is incredibly poignant and really well done. And I think that if you watch this movie, you're really going to enjoy it. So have you seen Savageland? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was fantastic. It's streaming for free on Tubi right now. You 100% should go check it out. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.